Hey guys, are you tired of what's going on in our country? Do you look at the political process as nothing more than a game played out by rich people where you and me are the pawns? Do you look at elections and think, if only we could get our guy or our gal elected, but those elections are rigged? That's some of the stuff I want to talk about. I told you guys about a month or two ago that we were going to discuss with you how to affect change in your community, in your state, and in this country. I'm going to talk to you about Drew and I's background in politics, which I want to start out with right now. I'm going to talk with you in this video about how you and me together can change the narrative of what's happening in our country. So if you firmly believe that there's nothing that you can do, if you believe that the people that are in power are going to stay there and that your vote doesn't matter, this video is not for you. But if you have a little glimmer of hope inside of you that there is something that can be done and that you might be the guy or the gal to do it, listen along. Mickey with CarryTrainer.com, Drew behind the cameras and editing desk. Let's get into it. So first of all, little background. I'm not just a dude that shoots guns. In fact, my dovetail into this community is working to affect change in the Second Amendment realm of laws, or anti-Second Amendment realm of laws. That's how Drew and I met. At the time, years ago, I was helping run a campaign for a local sheriff. Why would I do that? Because people on a local level, sheriff, state's attorney, judges, are some of the most important people in your life, in my life, for securing our rights, our freedoms, our liberty. Sheriffs, state's attorneys, judges. And I got involved in those races. We won that race. And Drew and I met at a time when I really was feeling positive about my future, feeling positive about the future of America, feeling positive about the change that we could affect in the world. And I learned a lot through those years. I learned a lot about my own personal capabilities and limitations, and I learned a lot about the system. So I worked my way up to become the vice chairman of a political party. I was in charge of raising money, helping to donate those funds to candidates. I was in charge of putting on events. I was in charge of a lot of communication that affected the outcome of elections. And as such, I learned quite a bit about the process, and that's some of the stuff I want to talk to you about in this video. So a little background on that. I'm not just some gun guy spouting on. I've done these things from a city council level up to congressional races and governor races we have worked on with people helping get elected. I've sat in rooms with a half dozen to a dozen governors, sitting governors, and worked on problems related to firearm legislation or lack thereof, protection of our rights. So again, I give you that background because I'm not just some gun guy talking about my opinions. These are things that we've done and will continue to do. We've got this big picture of what's going on in America, and most of us on all sides don't like it. We don't like it. A lot of people think the system's rigged. We think there's nothing we can do. We think our vote means nothing. I'm just giving you some what ifs. We think things like, no matter what I do, these elections are rigged. Well, I have sat through recounts. I will tell you this as my opinion. Do criminal activities take place in elections where people are doing nefarious activities to help cheat in races? 100% those things happen. Is it easy to do? Not really. And the reason I say not really is it would take people at a local level. See, the cool thing about our system, this republic, which folks that don't study a lot of world history or governmental history across the globe oftentimes just look down on the parts of our system that don't work. And the reason they don't work is because humans are fallible. We screw up. We get greedy. We get power hungry. But when people are motivated by doing good and doing right for the republic, for fellow members of our community, for our nation, usually the system works pretty darn good. Back to the point. Are things rigged? Sometimes. Let's talk about the word conspiracy for a minute. I went and looked up the definition. A conspiracy is a secret plan by a group to do something unlawful or harmful. In a sentence, she served 5 years in prison for taking part in a conspiracy to sell stolen works of art, right? Some synonyms: scheme, stratagem, plan, cabal, deception, ploy, trick, ruse, dodge, subterfuge. There's a lot of good ones there. Do conspiracies take place? Yep, all the time. We conspire to win, right? If we have a candidate that we want to put up to win, we are conspiring for that person to win. Not in a criminal sense, but we sit, we plot, we plan, we strategize on how to get this person to win. We'll come back to that. But I want to just put a framework around this idea of conspiring. I'm conspiring to win. I'm conspiring to do things by the rules, but to help people get elected that I feel can do good. Which brings us to our number one first question. What is my goal, right? So we can sit and we can look at social media, we can watch the news, we can get super pissed off, and then we say, okay, I want to do something. I need to do something. I'm capable of doing something. What's that look like? What is something? The something is your goal. Or spoken another way, like my buddy Vern likes to say, what's your desired end state? What is the desired end state? Meaning, once you finish this plan, what does it look like? What does the structure that you build look like? What does the painting that you paint look like? What does the dish that you prepare taste like, right? What's the desired end state, end goal? And that, I think, is where we should start. Too often we get too fixated on too many problems. So number one, what's the goal? Number two, what specific problem are we trying to fix? Or what situation are we trying to make better or change, right? So that goes in hand with what's the goal, but now let's get more specific. What situation am I trying to fix? So we could just pick one thing. For example, a lot of us don't like the things the ATF are doing. So let's say, big picture, we want to stop our firearm rights, the rights enshrined in our Bill of Rights in the Constitution, from being infringed upon by a three-letter agency that does not have the power to make law. So that's starting to develop a broad goal. I want to protect our firearm rights. Specifically, I don't want some three-letter agency, a non-elected bureaucrat, to be able to tell me what to do. So what problem are we trying to fix? The problem I'm trying to fix is I would like to stop that from happening. Okay, that's a pretty big ask, but let's dig in a little bit more. Number three, what value? What value does our goal provide? I'm going to pontificate on this a little bit more. To merely run for an office, I'm reading my notes, by the way, or install a new person into office, or remove an existing one, right? It might not do anything of any value. I've talked to candidates before. They want help. I'm helping a couple dudes across the country running for sheriff. I help people at state rep level constantly across the country, just give them advice, kind of like we're doing now. And I say, what's your goal? What are you going to do when you get in that office? And too often they're like, well, the other guy that's in there. No. I don't care why the other guy's bad or why they're not awesome or why you don't love them. What are you going to do when you get into office? Whether you yourself are running for office or you're helping somebody, if that person does not have a clearly defined goal of what they're going to do once they get elected, or a goal of what program they're going to create, you don't need to be elected to do some of these things. We can create initiatives and we can lobby. It's not a bad word when we say lobby. Oftentimes when we think of lobby, we think of lobbyists doing secret, dark backroom meetings. Well, I've lobbied for years. I can go to my Congress people, my senators. I can go to our state house and talk to the people that are elected representatives, and I can lobby them to hear my viewpoint and to hope to sway them to my way of thinking, or at the very least, open up their eyes to look at something in a different light. That's their job, is to listen to me or to listen to you. When we start to think about this, when we put somebody into office, what are they going to do? What value do they provide? And value doesn't have to be monetary, right? What problem or pain are they fixing? What thing are they making better for the community, for the taxpayer, for the citizen? a phrase I'll use often, for a member of this republic. The beauty of a republic is we are equal under the law. I don't care if you're the United States president or a homeless person in the gutter, we are equal under the eyes of the law. So we've got our goal, our big, beautiful picture of what do I want to do? If I could just like snap my fingers, what's my goal, right? And then we got to start to dig in. What problem am I trying to solve? Which coincides with the goal. Right now we're starting to drill in a little bit better. What goal or situation am I trying to make better? Pardon me, what problem or situation am I trying to make better? What value am I providing? What value in this plan am I providing? Number 4, this is where the rubber meets the road. What steps can I define right this very second that I can take action on? This is where most people end up getting derailed in their great plans to save their city, save their state, save their country. Is they have this idea of taxes suck, gun laws suck, the president or the mayor or the governor needs to be replaced. We got to do something. That's the easy part. Now comes, what steps can I define right now to get me to those goals? And now, this is where you sit down and you start to put pen to paper. You say, okay, let's just pick a problem. We don't like the mayor in our community. The mayor in our community is spending our money wrong. The mayor in our community is for a bunch of programs that don't coincide with how the members of our community feel. The mayor of our community is trying to create some anti-gun legislation that I'm not for, so I want to get rid of this person. How do I do it? All right. What steps can I define right now? Do I have a candidate? Do I have a candidate in mind? Yes or no? If so, who are they? How do I go about getting a candidate onto the ballot for the next election? That's a whole process. So how do you get somebody onto a ballot? Let's talk about that. Usually it's done through your county clerk's office, not the circuit clerk of the court, but you can look this up for your specific state and county. There is some nuances depending on what state you're in, but usually it's done through the county clerk. You can also call your state board of elections or go to your state board of elections website and look up the process for getting a candidate put on the ballot. Normally, you're going to go out and you're going to have to get petitions. This is a form. It's not just a made-up form. There is a specific form. You're going to travel around with this petition, and you're going to walk up to people at the train station. You're going to go walk down the street, and you're going to be circulating a petition. This is old-fashioned, but there's a reason for it. And you say, sir, can I get you to sign a petition today? We are running Mr. John Smith for mayor. I don't care whether or not you vote for him, but you are getting a signature from a member of the community that lives in your community that is basically signing on to say, yeah, I think it's good for us to put this person on the ballot. I'd like the option to run for this guy. You may have to get 500 signatures. You may have to get 50,000 signatures. It depends on the office. And that's based on some numbers, based on how many registered voters there are, how many people vote. Your state board of elections in your clerk's office will have all that information. So how do you go about getting a person on the ballot is a pretty important first step. And then once that's done, once you get that first step done of the mechanics of getting the person on the ballot, now we got to start to think about some very specific mechanisms that need to happen. A campaign is sales. It's sales and marketing. Rather than selling a product like my cool Ray-Ban glasses, right? Rather than selling a product, what we're selling is a candidate. But more important, we're not selling, and this is where people get lost. They say, vote for me, I'm awesome, I'm this guy, I'm that girl. Look at me, I'm pretty, I've got great hair and a nice suit. That's the wrong part. What we instead need to focus on is what value am I providing? When you look at a cheeseburger commercial, you look at a commercial for a car, that car commercial is selling you something exciting. For example, Cadillac uses Led Zeppelin and the car's hauling ass down a country road and the leaves are blowing and it makes you feel a certain way. Makes you feel like driving a Cadillac is bad ass, right? Or a beer commercial. Makes you feel like a beautiful summer day, maybe a sporting event, chicks in bikinis, life is good. I want to drink some beer, right? It's tapping into a feeling. Barack Obama did an excellent job of tapping into people's feelings in a campaign. If you don't like that I said Barack Obama, doesn't matter. He did a great job of bringing people together and getting them to feel a certain way, hopeful, right? Bill Clinton did a great job of doing that as well. Ronald Reagan did a great job of doing that as well. It's something that's interesting to study. Go back and look at political campaigns, and you'll start to learn about this marketing and sales strategy. The difference is, can this person deliver, or are they just selling snake oil? Are they just selling this perception of value, this perception of some possible betterment for mankind, for our society, or are they actually going to do it? Which it takes more than a president or a mayor to do those things. All these people, when we plug them in to the machine, and it is a machine, when we plug them in, we're hoping that that person is really an effective communicator to be able to get people onto the same page to get work done. So what can I identify right now that I can take action on? So I just gave you some examples of a few of those things. One of the things I put here on my notes is forget about party politics. As we start talking about this too often, we get too fixated on party politics. I got to vote for the Republicans, not the Democrats. I got to vote for the Democrats, not the Republicans. Let's start to look at who's the best person for the job. Who's the best person for the job? And then go out and vote for that person. It's not just your vote, though. So how do we win elections? Well, if you lived in my community, I'd say, hey, brother, sister, I need you. I need you to talk about this. I need you to write on your Facebook page, your Instagram page about it. I need you to talk about it at your frickin' billiards league. I need you to talk about it at the shooting club. I need you to talk about it at jiu-jitsu. I need you to talk about it at church functions. I need you to talk about it, and ask people to get out and vote for our candidate. It's sales and marketing, just like we're selling cars or chocolate or anything else, which requires people to be motivated to win, which kind of comes back to the idea of what value are we providing. Campaigns and campaign management is very much like managing the sales side of an organization. Except the one big difference is salespeople get paid, right? In a campaign, everybody is volunteers. You'll have a few paid staff people on a high level, like when you start to talk about congressional races, Senate, and of course, president or gubernatorial, governor races. Yes, you get some paid people, but not a lot. Most all of the work is done by volunteers, which comes back to our items of what value am I providing? We have to get people wrapped around a common theme. So I want to talk to you guys a little bit about firearm rights, protecting them and abolishing the BS that keeps coming up to strip us of our freedoms. I think a perfect thing to think about or talk about is concealed carry. For most of us younger than 50, a lot of folks don't remember a time when you couldn't carry a firearm. So I'm in my mid-40s. Most of my life, most of the country, there was no laws to allow you to carry a gun. A lot of folks will say the Second Amendment covers it. That's not the point. What I'm saying is the carrying of firearms was banned across most of this country for the last several hundred years. Laws started to pop up right at the beginning of our republic. Go study on this stuff. That's not what I want to make this discussion about. But slowly, through the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, states began to adopt concealed carry laws, which has been wonderful for giving humans the ability to protect themselves. It's been wonderful for education. It's been wonderful for a lot of things. But I bring that up because it's not something that happened overnight. In fact, it's a decades-long process. Most of the people involved in that process, you don't know their name unless you are deep in the weeds of this stuff. Most of those people worked tirelessly for no cash. Who else did that? Well, the founders of this republic did that. The 56 men that signed the Declaration left their homes, their farms, and they went month after month, year after year, to Philadelphia, then to Washington, to work on the creation of this republic, of this place that we now call our country. We've lost that citizen soldier, that citizen servant mindset, where we're not doing it for something, we're doing it for the greater good. I don't mean the greater good in the sense of socialism or the sense of communism or something like that, but the greater good of I know that posterity, those that come after me, are going to need this place. The world needs this place. The people that came before us left us this place. It's up to us to get on the same page. So firearm rights is beyond important. It is paramount for the proliferation of this republic. What do I think needs to happen? I think you and I, a couple of your friends, a couple of mine, need to start picking some key races. We need to focus on those races and work the heck out of them. Normally, the way this stuff is done is there's going to be somebody in your community that says, you know what, I'm sick of watching. I'm sick of being angry. I'm sick of just talking about it, and I'm going to do something. And that's really why party politics exists as it does, because there's a framework for people to jump inside of and work. For somebody to from scratch kind of create some of the stuff we're talking about, it can be daunting. Well, party politics kind of gives you some of that framework. I'm not suggesting, as I've already said, to play with party politics. I don't care if what party you are. I stand for freedom, liberty, protecting the rights of others, protecting our sovereignty, protecting our shores, keeping us safe, right? Creating an environment where we can move about freely, worship as we wish, raise our families as we see fit, do all of those things as long as we're not treading upon the rights or freedoms or liberties of another. That's the charter of government. As we start to dig deeper into this topic, which I want to do over a series of videos, I want to use this one to start to stir some conversation. I would like to see us be able to help you in your community. This isn't Mickey and Drew's ploy to make a living. This isn't us trying to get you to sign up for anything. This isn't us trying to hire ourselves out as campaign managers. This is us saying, we have the know-how to do this. We've done it over and over again, in fact. Why don't we apply that knowledge and start winning offices in your state, in your city? Maybe it's for you, maybe it's for a buddy, but it can be done. What's the goal? What problem are you trying to solve? Yeah, simple enough. What problem am I trying to solve, or what solution am I offering, right? What thing am I making better? What value does this goal provide? Like we said, to merely run for an office, that's the difference between politics and government. Politicians are involved in the theater of living their life to make a living, off of you and me. They're spending their life pretty much like actors, telling people BS so that they can keep their job, get famous, right? Stroking the clock of the American taxpayer, the pay clock. That's not government. That's not leadership. So when we say politics, I've never been involved in politics. I am involved in the concept and the construct of the protection and proliferation of liberty through the framework of our government. There's something very specifically different between those two things. What steps can I define right now? It's kind of like in our CarryTrainer instructor development course, we describe this in an analogy of, I know I need to go to that mountain over there. I can see the mountain. The mountain's the goal. It's way far away. It looks this big off in the distance, but we know that mountain's 2 miles tall or whatever it is. I know I have to walk in that direction. So I've defined my goal. My goal is get to that mountain. Actually, I'm going to climb to the top of it, right? What do I need to get there, right? This is part of that planning process. Well, it's still cold, so I'm probably going to want good clothes. I know it looks far enough away that I'm probably not going to get there today, so I should have some food. I should have some shelter or some shelter-making materials. I should have some things to keep me warm tonight. Is there anything out there that can hurt me? Do I need protection? Is there any reason I might need to communicate? Do I need a radio or a telephone or something like that? I don't know when I get out there if I'm going to have to cross any water. So part of this process, when we say define what you can right now, I don't know everything that's out there ahead of me. I define what I can, and I might have to change course. I might have to improvise when I get there. As new information and new material and new concepts come to you throughout this process, you're going to make changes. Most of this stuff has been solved long ago. But here's what I'm going to leave you with. Let's remove the politics from the concept of government. Let's remove our anger and our emotion, because all the people that are in power, all the people that are elected or appointed, there's only one way to fix it, and it's to either persuade them to your way of thinking or remove them from office. To get mad and waste our energy is literally like rubbing two sticks together in the rain. You are never going to make a fire. We have to change our actions that are going to specifically support the goal. My goal, when I train, my goal is to become more proficient at protecting life. I want to live a long, full life. So I try to live healthy, right? I try to get plenty of rest. I try to eat good, all of those things. In the context of this, a political campaign, my goal is to protect and proliferate liberty, period. There is no sweeter word. You and I could move any mountain in this republic. People will listen to this and they're going to say that's bullshit. It's all rigged. For you it is. For me it's not. Drew and I have done this stuff, and I know many other people have. You need to believe in yourself. You need to understand, and I'm going to get a little serious with you, that the very blood that courses in your veins is the same blood that coursed through the veins of the patriots that signed that Declaration of Independence. The same bloodline of the folks that chased the British out of Boston Harbor. The same bloodline that raised the flag at our state capitol after the War of 1812 when they burned that place to the ground. The same bloodline. That's what courses through your veins. I know you're not scared. That's why you're watching and listening to this. It's not about me. It's not about my brand. It's not about you. It's about us. It's about the commonality that we have together, that liberty binds us, that this most beautiful and sweet word that allows us to communicate like this freely, unfettered, exists, and it needs to continue to exist. We need to get on the same page. We need to begin to communicate effectively with each other so that rather than bicker, rather than waste our energy pissing into the breeze, we can start to put effective people into positions of leadership that think like you and I do, that can get the job done. And I think there's no time like right now. We've got a presidential election gearing up, and I think it's very important that we start getting on the same page. There's all kinds of pro-gun organizations that I think are great. I think what oftentimes happens to these organizations is they get too mired, too stuck in the quagmire of politics happening. We need to remember the mission. The mission is to protect our liberty. And in that, we protect our lives. In that, we create a situation where you and I can live as we see fit. Throw your comments below about what you think about some of the topics that we posed here. I want to take these individual topics about building the goal, about providing value, about things like vetting candidates, about getting on the ballot, etc. I want to dig in deeper into some of these things. You can send an email to training@CarryTrainer.com. If you're trying to run for office and you have questions, shoot me an email to training@CarryTrainer.com. If you are elected right now and you need help to keep your seat, or you know what, you're not being effective as a leader, talk to us. I'll communicate with you on it. It's easy, it's simple. I'm more than happy to have a conversation if you're serious. If your goal is to protect and promote liberty, let's do it. Let's do it together. I appreciate you guys commenting below about your opinions on this topic. I appreciate you watching. Share this video if you dug it. I hope that you're subscribing to this channel. Tell Drew how much you appreciate his hard work behind the cameras and editing desk. Tell somebody you love them. Don't be dickheads. We can do it. I believe it. Yep. Let's go.